Hawthorne Elite Range loomed before me, a temple of precision, its glass and steel facade gleaming under the California sun. But from the moment I arrived, the contrast was stark. My faded olive jacket and scuffed jeans felt jarring against the tailored tactical gear, streaming past. I, Harper Lane, 23 years old, carried my father's old M1 Grand Rifle, a piece of history. My father, Colonel Thomas Lane, had been a legendary sniper. He taught me to shoot on backwoods ranges, taught me to breathe with the trigger. After his death, I'd promised to honor his legacy, but the people here, they only saw a nobody, with a thrift store aesthetic, the receptionist, a guy named Derek with slicked back hair, and a sneer blocked my path. "This isn't a range for ordinary people," he said, his voice dripping with contempt. "VIP lanes are for members, not for whatever you are." He gestured at my rifle, his eyes raking over my faded jacket. A kid in a $4,000 tracksuit, Connor Blake, son of a hedge fund king, leaned against a pillar, grinning. "They letting in mops and maintenance now," he called out, sparking chuckles from the group behind him. My fingers brushed my father's worn VIP pass, a card earned through blood and loyalty. I held it out, my voice steady. "I'm a guest." Derek's smirk faltered as the scanner beeped green, but he muttered, "This is a mistake." When the crowd parted their laughter, a gauntlet, as I walked inside, stepping into the lounge, I was hit by the opulence and exclusivity. Wealthy members, high-ranking military officers, and athletic prodigies filled the lanes. Black marble floors, glowing digital scoreboards with powerful names. Children of senators, Olympians, tech titans. Membership here wasn't just a fee, but a lineage costing more than most people's mortgages. The walls were adorned with gold-framed photos of world champions, their eyes as cold as their aim. And then the taunts began on the range's live stream. Phones lit up, captions flashing. "Welfare shooter, thrift store trash." Vanessa Cole's voice, loud enough for the mic, mocked my jacket. "This is Hawthorne, not a salvage yard." The crowd roared their words like weapons demanding. I'd be kicked out, calling me a fraud. "Bet she stole that pass from the trash." I fought to keep my hands steady, my gaze fixed forward, but my mother's face on the live stream, pale and pained, showed the weight of their words. The online audience's anger surged, a fire about to ignite. The range's interior was a cathedral of competition. Lanes stretched 50 meters under a soaring ceiling. Digital screens tracked every shot, the hum of ventilation mixing with gunfire. Members lounged in leather chairs, sipping $20 lattes, their custom rifles gleaming. My jacket drew stares like a crack in a mirror. Tyler Reed, a trust fund kid, sprawled in a chair, his $12,000 rifle prop beside him. "Even cleaning staff gets access now, huh?" he sneered. His clique of prep school heirs laughed, their eyes slicing through my jeans. "What's she gonna do, polish the targets?" one quipped, tossing a spent casing at my feet. I stepped over it, face serene, my silence a shield. A range instructor, Professor Laura Vance, stepped forward, her tailored blazer a stark contrast. "This is highly irregular," she said, her voice dripping with false pity. "Hawthorne is for trained professionals, not charity cases with museum pieces." She gestured at my rifle, her diamond earrings glinting. "Your presence undermines our standards. Perhaps a community range would suit you better." The crowd murmured approval, their elitism a wall. "Leave now and we'll forget this embarrassment." Vance added her words, a deliberate cut. My braids swayed as I adjusted my rifle. A flicker of resolve in my hazel eyes, but my face remained calm. My mother's hands clenched on the live stream, the instructor's condescension, a betrayal. The online anger boiled. In the VIP lane, Vanessa Cole, a sharpshooter with $6,000 optics and a modeling contract, adjusted her scope, her blonde hair cascading perfectly. She glanced at me, lip curling. "This is a training ground, not some low-budget war movie cosplay," she said, her voice sharp, amplified by the live stream mic. The range's social media buzzed, comments flooding in. "Who's this loser? Get her out." The head coach, Colonel Raymond Pierce, a grizzled ex-Marine, stood nearby, irritation plain. "Are you sure you even know which end of the rifle you're supposed to hold?" he barked, dripping disdain. I met his gaze, my eyes unwavering. I'll figure it out," I said softly, a quiet vow. The crowd snickered, phones raised, poised for my failure. The billionaire heir, Ethan Caldwell, was the range's golden boy, 25 years old. Dark curls, chiseled jaw, eyes that could charm or burn. His black tactical gear was tailored. His custom rifle, a $60,000 work of art. He'd just fired a near-perfect round. His scores flashed on the digital board to roars. He turned, spotted me, and his grin was a weapon. "If you beat me, I'll leave immediately," he said, his voice smooth and mocking loud enough for the live stream. "But if I win, you're gone, janitor." The crowd erupted. Ethan leaned closer, his breath warm. "No pressure, sweetheart." I didn't flinch. I nodded once, my silence louder than their jeers. The live stream audience seethed their hearts with me, urging me to shatter their arrogance. The mockery didn't let up. As I set up at lane 8, Connor Blake sauntered over his tracksuit, screaming wealth. "That rifle's a fossil," he sneered. "Bet it falls apart before you fire." He flicked a coffee stirrer at my feet, grinning. "Pick it up, maintenance girl." The crowd laughed, phones recording. Vanessa adjusted her optics, her voice cutting. "You're embarrassing yourself, hun. Go home before you shoot your foot off." Coach Pierce stepped closer, clipboard raised like a gavel. "This is an elite facility. We don't have time for amateurs with relics." My hands moved with quiet precision, loading my rifle, my face a mask, my mother's face watching the live stream from a hospital bed crumpled, each insult a wound. The range's social media was a battlefield, posts piling on. "Hey, scrapyard shooter." One read, "She's a fake." Another commented. Tyler Reed stood, his voice booming. "Why is she even here? This is our range, not a soup kitchen shoot." The crowd cheered their elitism a fortress. Mia Hall in a designer jacket tossed a crumpled score sheet at my feet, calling, "Clean that up, janitor." The paper skidded, grazing my boots. But I didn't pause. My braids swayed as I checked my rifle. My eyes locked on the target. 50 meters out. The audience's rage burned their fury at the mob's cruelty, a fire ready to explode. The insults sharpened as I stood at the lane. A retired general, now a consultant, leaned to Coach Pierce, his voice loud enough for the live stream. "This is what happens when you let scholarships in," he muttered, gesturing at me, no breathing, no skill. The crowd murmured agreement, phones flashing, capturing my stillness. Vanessa stood, her optics glinting, and called out, "You're a walking embarrassment, girl. Leave before you make us all look bad." "Connor?" Blake added his piece. "Bet she's never even fired a gun. Probably stole that pass." The laughter swelled, a vicious chorus, each word a stone hurled at my dignity. My fingers brushed my rifle. A faint tremor, the only sign of tension. But my face remained serene. My silence a wall. Ethan took his turn first, his movement smooth, his rifle an extension of his will. The digital board flashed 10, 9, 9, 10, 10, 10, near perfect. His grouping tight. The crowd roared, clapping their smirks aimed at me. "Good luck, thrift store?" Ethan called, his grin cocky. The livestream comments surged. "She's toast. No way she tops that." I stepped to the line, my M1 Garand steady. The crowd hushed, phones raised, ready for my humiliation. I exhaled, my body still. My focus a laser 50 meters out. A tiny red dot centered among hundreds of rings. The audience held their breath. Their anger at my treatment, a pulse in their veins. Bang. Shot 110. The board chimed a soft ping, slicing the silence. Murmurs rippled. "Lucky shot," Tyler scoffed, crossing his arms. "I didn't blink, gang shot, 210. The ping came again, sharper. Vanessa's optics slipped, her smirk, fading. Bang. Shot 310. The range's congratulatory melody played a rare chime for 3 perfect shots in a row. The crowd froze, their laughter dying. "Beginner's luck," Connor muttered, but his voice cracked. My face remained calm, my hazel eyes locked on the target. The live stream audience leaned closer, hearts pounding, sensing a storm brewing. Bang, shot 410. The melody played again, louder, insistent. Coach Pierce's clipboard trembled in his hands. Shot 510. A headset clattered to the floor, dropped by a stunned athlete. Bang, shot. 610. The range was a graveyard. Every eye on me. My faded jacket a beacon under the lights. Ethan's grin was gone, his jaw tight, eyes narrowing. The live stream exploded. "Who is this girl? This is insane." My braids swayed as I adjusted my grip, my movements precise, almost sacred. The audience's anger turned to awe, their faith growing with each shot. Only cost 710. The melody was a hymn now echoing off the steel walls. Tyler's face paled, his bravado crumbling. Shot 10. Vanessa ripped off her optics, her hands shaking. Bang. Shut my 910, the crowd was silent. Phones lowered their mockery, a distant memory, bang. Shot 10, perfect center, overlapping the first bullet, not a millimeter off. The board flashed a new record 100. The melody played one final time, triumphant as the system announced, facility record broken. I lowered my rifle, my breath steady, my hazel eyes sweeping the room. The audience roared their hearts, soaring my triumph, a blaze that burned away their scorn. I turned calm, dead steady, and spoke my voice soft but piercing. My father taught me to shoot when I was 6. I said my words, cutting through the silence like a blade. He was the #1 sniper in his unit. While you were still learning how to double-click a mouse, the crowd parted, heads bowed their earlier cruelty, a weight they couldn't shake, Coach Pierce. The ex-Marine rose from his chair, his eyes shining with respect. He began to clap slow and deliberate, the sound echoing in the stillness. One by one others joined the applause, swelling a tide of reckoning. Ethan stood frozen, his mouth twitching, his heart stumbling as he saw my smile. Just a flicker, but enough to unravel him. Ethan Caldwell stood rooted, his once cocky grin replaced by a flush of shame as my perfect 100 glowed on the board. My smile, faint but radiant, caught him like a spark, his heart tripping over itself. I, I was an idiot, he said, his voice cracking loud enough for the live stream. You're not just better, you're untouchable. The crowd's silence was heavy, their earlier jeers now a collective wound. Ethan's eyes, once sharp with arrogance, or softened, tracing my calm poise, my faded jacket, now a badge of honor. The live stream comments shifted. He's done, she's a queen. Coach Pierce nodded, his voice booming. Mr. Caldwell, your scores are no longer the standard. Step aside. Ethan's shoulders slumped, but his gaze lingered on me, my smile a quiet fire that lit something new in him. The audience cheered, their hearts soaring as Ethan's fall and my rise intertwined. My triumph, a blade that cut through his pride. Ethan's face burned, his 10s and 999s, now a public humiliation. He'd mocked me, challenged me, and lost in front of everyone. The live stream captured his pale shock. Comments flooding. She destroyed him. Harper is legend. He stepped forward, his voice low, almost reverent. I was wrong. He said, his eyes searching mine. You're incredible. I nodded, my smile faint but warm, a spark that caught him off guard. The crowd watched, their silence a canvas for my victory. Coach Pierce approached, his voice gruff but proud. That was the finest shooting I've seen in 40 years, he said. Your father's legacy lives in you. My eyes softened. My promise kept my mission complete. The range's director, General Marcus Tate, stepped forward, his silver hair catching the LED lights, his voice resonant across the lanes. Harper Lane has redefined excellence. He declared, his words broadcast to the live stream. Her record of 100-100 is now the benchmark for Hawthorne. He turned to the staff, his gaze stern. Those who mocked her, Derek, Professor Vance, face suspension pending review. Standards here are about skill, not status. The crowd gasped, the guilty shrinking, their arrogance crumbling. Tate raised a hand, unveiling a digital plaque on the screen. Harper Lane record holder. I stood tall, my smile a quiet glow catching Ethan's eye again, his heart racing at my grace. The live stream audience roared their applause, echoing online hashtag Harper Lane trending as a symbol of truth. The audience's hearts swelled, my victory a permanent mark on the range's legacy. The range's hierarchy crumbled in that moment. Connor Blake slunk to the lounge, his tracksuit no shield against the whispers. She owned him. Vanessa packed her gear, her modeling contract suddenly fragile, her arrogance a memory. Tyler's boast died in his throat, his rifle untouched, his click avoiding his gaze. The live stream trended globally, hashtag Harper Lane, flooding social media. My 10 shots, a myth in the making. The general who'd mocked my breeding stood, his face red, and muttered an apology, his words lost in the applause. Mia Hull, the score sheet tosser, slipped out, her designer jacket, no armor against the shame. The range's elite were humbled, their exclusivity shattered by a girl with a faded rifle. Ethan lingered, his cockiness replaced by curiosity, then awe. He approached me later as the crowd thinned, his voice soft. Can we talk? I owe you everything. My smile grew, my hazel eyes meeting his, and I nodded. A new chapter dawning. As the applause faded, Ethan approached me, his usual swagger gone, replaced by a quiet intensity. I don't deserve your time. he said, his voice low. His eyes locked on my smile, that faint, radiant curve that had undone him. But I'd be a fool not to try. You're not just a shooter. You're a force. The crowd watched their silence a canvas for his vulnerability, the live stream capturing every word. He's in love. My hazel eyes met his, my smile deepening a spark that lit his world. Coffee's a start. I said, my voice soft but warm. A bridge between us, the Rangers staff paused their respect for me. Now a given. My record, a new North Star. Ethan's heart raced my smile the moment he'd fallen. The beginning of something unstoppable. The audience's hearts soared, their satisfaction complete as my triumph sparked love. My victory, a legend sealed in 10 perfect shots. The Rangers staff updated the leaderboard, my name now etched at the top, a permanent rebuke to their scorn. The crowd, at once a wall of scorn, now stood in awe. Their phones lowered their earlier cruelty, a bitter memory. A young athlete previously silent stepped forward, her voice trembling. I was wrong to laugh, she set her eyes on me. You're what this range should be. Others nodded their applause, swelling a tide of respect that drowned their past insults. My smile, soft but piercing, caught Ethan's gaze again, his heart lurching as he saw my strength in its quiet glow. The live stream captured the shift. Comments flooding. She changed everything. Harper inspires. Even the general who'd mocked my breeding clapped, his face red with shame, his earlier words now dust. I stood serene, my faded jacket, a symbol of victory, my triumph reshaping the Ranger's soul. The audience's hearts thundered, their anger transformed into pride. My skill, a beacon for all who'd been overlooked. The live stream audience chanted my name, their anger transformed into triumph. My victory, a beacon for the overlooked. The following days were magical. Ethan, who had once made me feel small and out of place, now became my closest companion. He wanted to know everything about me, about my father, about the shooting lessons I had been taught. He listened to me intently, his eyes shining with genuine admiration. I realized that behind the flashy exterior and somewhat arrogant confidence, Ethan was a kind person who yearned to learn. He didn't try to hide his ignorance of my world. On the contrary, he was curious and wanted to explore it. I took him to the small shooting ranges where my father used to bring me, where I had honed my skills since I was a child. I shared with him stories about my father, about the battles he had fought in, about the comrades. He had sacrificed himself to protect Ethan. Didn't just listen. He asked deep questions, trying to understand the values I cherished. He gradually changed, no longer the spoiled rich kid who only knew about money and status. He learned to appreciate effort, perseverance, and courage. And I also learned a lot from him. I realized that behind the wealth and success, Ethan also had his own loneliness and hidden longings. We found in each other a connection, understanding, and a sincere love. 3 months after that fateful day, Ethan proposed to me. He didn't choose a fancy restaurant or a lavish location. He took me to Hawthorne Elite Range itself, where our love had begun. Under the sunset, amidst the target boards that had witnessed my victory, he knelt down and asked for my hand. The ring he gave me was simple, but it was perfect, just like myself. I couldn't hold back the tears of happiness. Our wedding day was a small, intimate ceremony, with only our closest loved ones. I wore a simple white dress, unadorned and unpretentious. I wanted everything to be natural and genuine, just like our love. And then the most wonderful thing of all happened. The honors board of Hawthorne Elite Range, once a symbol of discrimination and arrogance, now had my name engraved at the very top. Harper Lane record, holder 100-100. This range was no longer just for the elite. It belonged to me, reborn through a girl in faded jeans and 10 perfect shots. Harper Lane didn't need their praise. I was the bullet that hit the mark. Proof that talent and perseverance can overcome all prejudice. And I finally had found true happiness.